guilty man. You try to rewrite your own history. And you forget all the lives the Stark family has destroyed. There will be blood in the water, and the sharks will come.
Welcome back to my MCU Phase 1 reviews. I am Dylan Gable, and today we're talking about Iron Man 2, released in 2010. Jon Favreau returns as director for this one, and it stars Robert Downey Jr., Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Scarlett Johansson, Mickey Rourke, and much more. It tells the story of Tony Stark. Everyone knows he's Iron Man now, as the first movie ended with him revealing that he is. And this time, his health is now declining, and also there's a vengeful madman out there tied to his father's past. Okay, so what do I think of Iron Man 2? This is not the most loved film in the MCU. Because I know lots of people enjoy this movie, and there's just as many that don't. For me, I'm in between. I think this movie is just very, very okay. There's stuff that I love about this movie, like the action sequences are actually better here than they were in the first one. I actually really love the action sequences in this movie. I think Don Cheadle is better than Terrence Howard, so there's that. Even though Terrence Howard was pretty good as Rhodey, Don Cheadle is great as Rhodey. And, Scarlett Johansson, well, she doesn't really serve much of a purpose here besides showing us Black Widow for the Avengers. I think she does a fine job. She really does know how to kick some ass in the action scenes, so there's that. I actually love... There's elements of Tony Stark's character arc in here that I find very compelling. There's some very compelling character work here that actually kept me interested as much as possible throughout this film. And yeah, the effects are really good, the action scenes are fantastic, and also the performances here are excellent. Everybody does a good job in this film. And of course, Robert Downey Jr., as I'll always say, which with every MCU film that I review that he's in, he was born for this role. Seriously, I don't think anyone else could play Tony Stark / Iron Man than Robert Downey Jr. He is a perfect fucking cast here. Now, let's get to the stuff that I don't like about this film, because there's a lot of issues with this film. This is definitely the weakest MCU film that I'm reviewing at this point. There will be some worse ones than this when I go much further with my reviews. Don't kid yourself here. This isn't the worst MCU film, but it is one of the weakest ones. I will say, this movie has some very, very, very bad pacing issues at times. The movie starts off really good, and then, especially in the second act, this movie grinds to a fucking halt. There are times where nothing of interest is happening. There's long stretches in this film without any action. So yeah, if you thought the first movie lacked action, just wait until you see Iron Man 2. Oh boy. There's you get the Whiplash, the main villain, well, one of the villains. There's multiple villains in this film. You get that car racing Whiplash scene, and that scene goes on for a few minutes, And then after that, there's like just long stretches with no action. But also, not a lot of interesting stuff happening either. Like, yeah, you get some of the good character stuff with Tony Stark, but you do get quite a bit of that, but then there's other times where it's just focusing on shit that is just, where I just felt like I did not give a shit. That's basically the main problem with Iron Man 2. There's so much filler in this film. It got kind of tiresome after a while. Like when I was like going through all these sequences in this film that are just nothing but filler, I was like, okay, you can put in another action scene right now. Come on, I could really use an action scene, or get back to some Tony Stark stuff, because that shit was actually interesting. But nope, there are lots of scenes of just exposition that did not need to be there, exposition scenes that go on way too long, and just tons and tons of filler. Now, here's another issue I have with this movie. Wasted potential with the villains. Okay, so the main villain of this film is a guy in a suit. He's a fucking business guy who's supposed to be some competition for Tony Stark, and he makes some weapon tech that, goes bad and starts attacking in the final act of the film. He is one of the most uninteresting villains in the entire MCU. Like, almost as bad as okay, I'm not going to spoil the rest, future reviews here, because we'll get to another comparison here a few more movies down the road. This I'll be touching on in Phase 2. And then now we're going to talk about Whiplash, played by Mickey Rourke. I love Mickey Rourke as an actor. He is a really cool action hero. And seeing him play a Whiplash, that could have been some good stuff right there. And he doesn't do a whole lot in the movie. And he's just there mostly for exposition scenes. You only get a couple of scenes of him actually throwing down with Iron Man. That I thought was a huge waste of potential right there. Man. And in the final act, when you get the final showdown between between him and Iron Man fighting alongside War Machine, because this is the first time you get to see Rhodey in the Iron Man suit, but not in Tony's suit, in his own suit, which he calls War Machine. And so you get that, and that scene only goes on for less than a minute. The whole final showdown between them and Whiplash only lasts a few seconds. It was so disappointing. I found it really disappointing watching it as a kid when it came out, and I still find it disappointing now. That could have been so cool, but nope, we only get like a glimpse of it, and then it just ends right away. Man, did that piss me off. And then let's talk about the humor. The humor in this movie sometimes was funny, because Robert Downey Jr. is very charismatic, and he can be funny without even trying. And then you get some stupid shit like a whole scene where he pees his pants. Yeah, that famous scene. And then there's a fight scene with there's a fight scene between Iron Man and War Machine, Tony and Rhodey, and it's meant for laughs, but because it's clearly played for laughs, but when you're watching, I'm like, the scene's entertaining, but I'm not finding it that funny. I mean, it was pretty cool that it starts off with Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. Always some props there when a movie uses Queen in their soundtrack. But overall, Iron Man 2, it's got some good stuff, and it's also got some lame stuff. This movie could have used a lot more entertainment value. It is one of the least watchable films in the MCU in terms of replay value. There are some entertaining scenes, but it's all overshadowed by a lot of filler and wasted opportunities. Iron Man 2 is just a very disappointing sequel, and I'm going to give it a C+. Alright, so what did you think of Iron Man 2? Comment below, let me know, and if you like my channel, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.